Hello there guys and welcome back to 100% Chelsea for my preview of the Tottenham versus Chelsea game taking place on Sunday afternoon, I think, with the kickoff being at 4 PM UK time, obviously at Wembley, not at White Hart Lane this season. But before I actually get into the preview properly, I have to talk about something else. So Chelsea yesterday played a secret friendly behind closed doors against QPR, I think the under-21 side, because the first team played the night before, so I doubt we played the first team. We beat them 8-0, but that's not the interesting bit. What's interesting is that both Eden Hazard, and you can see a picture of him in action basically in that game on screen now. It's not a great picture, don't blame me. It was just floating around Twitter and I nicked it, didn't I? And Bakayoko both played in that game. I don't know for sure how many minutes they both played. Some people said Hazard played the full game. Me personally, I doubt that, but I don't know for sure. Hazard actually did get on the score sheet, so he scored, so that's obviously great. Musonda also played and scored too, so you know, that's great news. Hazard playing in a game, just a friendly, just behind closed doors and all, and Bakayoko as well. But that's obviously great news, obviously taking great strides towards getting fit, which is obviously very important looking at our squad right now. But now actually getting into the preview and talking about our opposition, Tottenham, not a team we like to talk about, but I'm going to have to do it. So obviously, as we all know, they're a very strong team. We don't like to admit that, but they're a very strong team. They finished second to only us, obviously, in the league last season, as I assume, well, basically all of you know. You know, first game of the season last week, they beat Newcastle 2-0 away from home. 3 goals by Dele Alli and Ben Davies, their left back actually. But only after Chonjo Shelby was actually sent off for Newcastle. So, you know, read into that what you will. They obviously sold Kyle Walker to Manchester City. Kieran Trippier is basically now their first choice right back, but he's injured. So now they're playing their youngster Kyle Walker-Peters. And yes, that's actually his name, Kyle Walker-Peters. Absolutely love that name. Selling Kyle Walker, now playing Kyle Walker-Peters. Anyway, he's playing a right back. Danny Rose is injured as well. So Ben Davies played, you know, in his position against Newcastle. So I assume he'll play there again unless Danny Rose is back, which I very much doubt. They have, you know, let's be honest, they have one of the best starting 11s in the league. You know, probably even with the backup fullbacks, they probably still have, you know, one of the best leagues sides in the league. So it will be very difficult to beat them, you know, very difficult. Probably one of our most difficult games of the season. But, you know, talking about our record against them, since April 2010, we've only lost to Tottenham twice. So in the last 17 meetings, only 2 defeats. That definitely sounds good to us. I mean, obviously, the last 2 defeats came over the last, well, 2.5 years, basically. But, you know, it's still good. Only 2 defeats in 17 games is very good. Although Mauricio Pochettino, Tottenham manager, has never lost a London derby at home. But are they at home? Are they really? Yes, they're officially the home team. But they're at Wembley, you know, because obviously the new stadium's being built. And their record at Wembley is dreadful. They obviously played their, you know, Champions League and Europa League games there last season, and they didn't do particularly well, did they? We obviously beat them 4-2 in the FA Cup semi-final at Wembley as well. But saying all of that, our record at Wembley hasn't been so great in the recent past either, has it? You know, we lost the Community Shield, we lost the FA Cup final, we lost the Community Shield before then. Yes, in between we beat Tottenham, which is obviously, you know, bodes well for us. But right now, we don't have Nemanja Matic to score an absolute thunderbolt of a striker to the top corner. So, you know, yes, it was only the 4-2. But still, you know, always good to score a goal like that. So, like I said, I mean, they're obviously a very strong team. You can never underestimate Tottenham, even if they're at Wembley, you know, don't underestimate it. It might be different for them as they sort of know that they're going to be there all season. You know, it's probably better to play them now at Wembley than it would be to play them there in April when they've sort of gotten used to it, if you know what I mean. But then again, our squad will probably never be as thin as it is right now. So maybe it's not a good time to play them away. You know, we'll have to wait and see. Coming to Antonio Conte's press conference. And it was a very long, almost 30 minutes or over 30 minutes long press conference. And it was also a very interesting press conference. So first thing he was asked about and talked about was obviously Cesc Fabregas and Gary Cahill are both suspended. But he said that cannot be an excuse for the team and the players have to be very focused. And I think that's the right attitude. We can't just say, well, we have players injured, players suspended. That's why we lost if we lose. So, you know, we can't use that as an excuse. He then went on to saying he's not worried about the size of the squad. You know, just saying, probably the biggest lie I've ever heard in my life. But he said, it's not easy, but we must be strong. And he's completely right about that. Obviously, as the media picked up on Eden Hazard playing in a friendly yesterday as well, they asked him about his fitness situation. And he said he's improving a lot, but he still needs time to be fully fit. We must be very patient with him, which is obviously, what I expect, kind of like, yes, he played in a friendly yesterday, but that doesn't mean he's automatically ready to start in in the Premier League game away at Spurs. Talking about Bakayoko as well, obviously how his recovery is going. He said Bakayoko is doing very well. He's not at full fitness and not his 100% of his physical condition, but he could be in contention for selection, which is, great news. Conte is yet to decide on, whether he will start, whether he will be in the squad or not. But the situation could force him to take a different decision than maybe he would in a different situation. As in, if we had more players available, he probably wouldn't even consider playing him this early from, in his recovery. Because at this moment, some players are just not at the 100% of their physical condition. Like I said, same for Morata, he said. But we're facing a difficult situation, so Conte has to make difficult decisions. He talked about Pedro as well, who obviously missed the Burnley game due with an ankle injury that he picked up against Arsenal in the Community Shield. He said Pedro trained today, but he felt pain in his ankle. So he's basically a doubt. Conte only talked about him possibly being on the bench, nothing about starting. So I'd be very surprised if he did start. Obviously, it would be great if he could, because he's a great player and we need him. You could see against Burnley how much we missed him, really. Now coming to basically the best and the funniest bit of that press conference, when Conte sort of was asked about and told about, obviously, Costa's interview that came out on Sunday night, Conte just started laughing when, he was told that Costa said he feels like he's being treated like a criminal, like proper laughing. It was hilarious. He said everyone at the club knows very well what happened with him last season, but it's very funny what he said in his interview. Basically, Conte is preparing a diss track for Diego Costa. Because after that, he said, Diego Costa is the past, full stop. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. As much as, I like Diego as a player and, as a guy, the way he was before all of this shit happened, that was still hilarious. Then he went on about talking how good of a foundation Tottenham have and how much we don't have a foundation, and that Chelsea need to build a new foundation for the club. In the last 2 years, we've lost, a lot of important players. You mentioned Didier Drogba even, John Terry, Ivanovic, Mikel, players that have been around for a long time. Obviously, he didn't mention him, but you could clearly see that he was kind of had him in his mind as well, Nemanja Matic. And he said it before, the season will be difficult because we basically need to start again. We need to start to build that foundation. Doesn't sound great, but at least he's sort of willing to build that foundation, apparently anyway, and not just looking at short-term success, as in, he'll be off soon anyway. But he's looking at doing that, which is obviously good. He was asked whether he's concerned about, obviously, the combination of such a tiny squad and possibly having to play players too soon. And he said, yes, he is concerned about playing players too soon because the risk of an injury is a lot higher when you play them not at 100% of their physical condition. But he said, in this situation, we might have to take some risks. Then he was asked a very interesting question. A question that, if I was there, I would have asked him as well. Does he regret giving players like Chalobah and Ruben Loftus-Cheek away? And you know what his answer was? He just said, next question, please. So, I mean, clearly he kind of does regret it. The only question I have now, did he decide for Chalobah and Ruben Loftus-Cheek to leave? Or did the board decide? Obviously, basically they both wanted more game time, and he was probably the one that couldn't promise that to them. But obviously the decision to sell them is not his. He can give, his advice to the board, sell them, loan them out, stuff like that. But was it his decision or not? I'm not 100% sure, but he sure looks like he regrets it. He probably, and the board as well, I suppose, were, expecting having a lot more players signed by now. Probably hoping not to sign Matic, although, it looks like he's wanted to leave basically for the whole summer. But yeah, I mean, we all said that before at the channel, and loads of other fans said it as well. Imagine we had Chalobah right now. We wouldn't need to rush Bakayoko back. He'd be just fine playing that game. But it is what it is. But it's obviously, it's very hard right now. It's very hard. Then he was asked, is David Luiz in midfield an option? Maybe even a solution? And he just replied, well, he has to try to find the best solution, but Conte prefers David Luiz as a centre-back. Pretty definite answer that, to be honest. He was asked about Andreas Christensen as well. He says he trusts Christensen. He's ready to play for Chelsea. He also talked about, his performance against Burnley. He said when he came on last game, he played a good game and showed great personality. And, he added, if a player, also a young player, that kind of hint towards, Chalobah and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, those players as well. If a player, also a young player, is ready, like really ready, and he reiterated that, he will play. So, although he seems to be regretting getting rid of some of them, he still stands by his word that he said in pre-season when he just said, well, these young players think they're ready, but they're not really. So that's why he doesn't use them. So he sticks by that, although he clearly still kind of regrets, getting rid of some of them. Now, talking about us, talking about Chelsea, how are we going to do? How are we going to line up? Which is very difficult. So I'm going to talk you through what do we know. Cahill and Fabregas are obviously suspended. Moses is back from suspension, which he obviously served against Burnley. Pedro will almost certainly not start, maybe be on the bench. Bakayoko might start, but will probably be on the bench. And Eden Hazard will most certainly not be in the squad. Say Bakayoko doesn't start, so then we only have one centre mid in N'Golo Kante. I very much doubt that someone like Kyle Scott will come in. He basically just, started being kind of part of the squad because we got rid of players like Chalobah, like Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Even Nathan Ake is an option for centre midfield. If those weren't sold, Kyle Scott would be nowhere near the first team. So I very much doubt that he'll be starting a game. Most likely be on the bench, but I just can't imagine him starting. He said he prefers David Luiz as centre-back. And he said we're in a situation in which we might have to take risks, So I actually do think Bakayoko will start. So coming to my lineup, obviously Thibaut Courtois in goal. The back three I expect to be Cesar Spilicueta with Moses returning from his suspension, shifting back to his, basically normal now right centre-back position. David Luiz staying as the central centre-back and Rudiger playing as the left-sided centre-back in that centre-back three. Obviously, he started the game against Burnley as the right centre-back, basically just instead of Aspie, who played instead of Moses. But once Gary Cahill was, sent off and Christensen came off, Christensen actually played as the right-sided centre-back and Rudiger played as the left-sided centre-back. So if Azpilicueta does, move backwards into the back three, I expect Rudiger to play on the left side. Moses obviously will be back, will start the game. Same goes for Alonso. He'll start the game, basically guaranteed because we don't have anyone else. Kante, same goes. And like I said, I think Bakayoko will start. Left wing is probably the only difficult, one of the difficult, kind of predicted positions to make. So Boga, I think, will start. He started against Burnley. He only got like 18 minutes because obviously Gary Cahill got sent off. And, he got taken off for Christensen then. So I think he'll get another chance. It could obviously be Charlie Musonda as well. But he played in that friendly against QPR yesterday. To be honest, I don't know if Boga played in it as well. But I know Musonda did for sure. So, fitness-wise, I think the players that are guaranteed to start on Sunday didn't feature in that. I'd expect that. Obviously, Bakayoko played, but he kind of needed minutes to get his fitness up. So that's a bit different. So I'm not 100% sure. I think it will be Boga, but obviously it could be Musonda or even Morata on the wing. But I actually think Morata will this time finally get his first start in a competitive game for Chelsea. I think he should. I think he definitely deserves that. He might not be 100% fit for 90 minutes, but then give him 60, give him 70, and then bring on Michy Batshuayi if, he can't do the full 90. But I think he definitely has to start. He was so good against Burnley once he came on, so I just think he deserves to start. And Michy Batshuayi basically doesn't deserve to start, if I'm completely honest. And obviously William will still be on the right wing because he's our only, real first choice winger that we have left with Pedro. But almost guaranteed not to start, but possibly being on the bench. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully he can come on to give us a bit of a boost at the end if his ankle feels all right. But yeah, that's my lineup. How are we going to do? How will we approach the game? Well, in my opinion, the main priority should be not having a player sent off. That will be a good start. For once, not have a player sent off. I talked about it in the Burnley review, didn't I? We had 2 players sent off against Burnley, 1 player sent off against Arsenal in the Community Shield, and a player sent off against Arsenal in the FA Cup final. So let's stop having players sent off. Then we could actually play, a good game for once. And I think we should make sure we don't lose. Some people might not like that, but I think not losing should be the main priority in that game on Sunday. Obviously, try to win as well. But if we don't even try to win, we might as well not turn up. But I think, getting a clean sheet, not losing, should be the most important thing. And I'm going to do a Michael Owen now. If you don't concede, you can't lose. So you'll get at least a point if you don't concede. So better 1 point than no points, in my opinion. Not just in my opinion, I think in everyone's opinion. But yeah, coming to my prediction. Well, is it even possible to give a real prediction for that? I'm going to talk you through it. Well, it really depends on who starts. If Bakayoko does not start and Luiz goes into midfield, or, possibly Christensen, but more likely David Luiz, will lose, I think, because we don't have any solidity at the back. Say Luiz moves into midfield, we'll have Aspie, Rudiger and Christensen. They've never played together in their life, and they're facing one of the strongest attacking lineups in the league in Harry Kane, Christian Eriksen and Dele Alli. You know, I don't think that would go well in the slightest. If Michy Batshuayi starts, I don't think we'll do particularly well going forward. We didn't against Arsenal in the Community Shield. We didn't against Burnley when he was on. Not always saying that's necessarily his fault, but it's partly his fault. You know, when Morata came on, it worked a lot better. So if that happens, if Batshuayi starts and Bakayoko starts though, maybe a draw if we're lucky. If Bakayoko and Morata start, I think we stand a good chance of a draw or even a win. Yeah, I might be that optimistic. I might regret it, but I might be that optimistic. I don't know why. Like, I was so down and angry after the Burnley game. I don't know what happened during this week. I just felt a bit more confident. I don't know. Only if Morata starts, to be honest, and if Bakayoko starts. But I'll give 2 predictions. If we still don't know how to defend, I'll go with a 2-2. I go with a 2-0. I think Morata will score 1, maybe another. But, you know, if we still don't know how to defend, obviously we won't keep a clean sheet. If we do know how to defend, I'll go for a 2-1 win to us. Very, you know, out there, considering our squad, considering how good Spurs are, actually. Although they didn't play the greatest game against Newcastle. I watched it. It wasn't incredible, and they didn't do particularly well before Shelby got sent off. You know, I said priority should be getting a clean sheet, and now my prediction is, like, my being positive prediction is 2-1. Let's be honest. We probably won't keep a clean sheet against their attack. Let's be honest now. But yeah, that's it from me. Leave me all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. Leave me your predicted lineups. Who do you think will start? Do you think Bakayoko will start? Do you think Morata will start? Do you think, you know, if Bakayoko doesn't start, will it be Christensen in midfield? Will it be Kyle Scott? Will it be David Luiz? Boga on the left wing, Musonda, Batshuayi striker, Morata is the left wing. Leave me your, you know, match predictions down in the comments as well. You know, I really want to know what you have to say. I think this ended up being a very long video because there was just a lot of things to talk about. You know, press conference was long and all of that. Leave a like if you did enjoy the video. We'd massively appreciate that. Check out my social media links, which, you know, my Instagram, my Twitter, which you'll find somewhere on the screen. Subscribe to 100% Chelsea if you haven't already. We massively do appreciate that as well. Thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea. Come on, let's beat them, Spurs. I hate losing to them. So let's beat them. Up to Chelsea. And I'll see you next time.